Hi, this is Kelly, your certified health coach.
And this is Scarlett, your life coach here in the Valley of the Sun. Welcome to Hot in Arizona. It is hot.
It is super
My
hot.
AC is not like kicking out cold air. I don't know what the heck's going on here in the mobile studio.
Really hot.
It's 110. We've been kind of spoiled with all that rain, and it was like what?
90 something.
90, yeah. And it was like all breezy and nice and
totally out of the norm. You know, where August is usually our hottest month, and it's
living up to it.
Living up to it today. That's for sure.
It is a hot one.
Yeah.
So how you been?
It's been a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we missed last week.
Yes.
For just lots of reasons, because one of the things was I was out of commission.
Mm-hmm.
But then you had some things going on.
I did have some things going on
with your mama.
Yeah.
And it just got me to thinking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was just so weird. It was like your mom, and then I had like 3 other posts from my friends with things going on with their moms, and I was like, holy cow.
What's going on with the moms?
Right?
Yeah.
But then, you know, I'm like, okay, well, we're all of that age.
Yeah.
Where are, you know, y'all's mamas? Unfortunately, my mama didn't get to be that age.
Mm-hmm.
But y'all's mamas are getting up into that age range when things are just happening.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just really, really important. You know, we talk a lot about like self-care, and that's great, right? Self-care is important.
It is important.
It is very important. But we also care for our families and, you know, significant others and kids, and we care for our friendships, right? We nurture those.
Yep.
And a lot of times, the thing that kind of gets put on the back burner is our aging parents.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we kind of get caught up in stuff and caring for all these other people. And even though, you know, we know they're getting older. But I don't know about you. I knew my mom was getting older, but I didn't really see her as older.
Right. Well, and it's funny because, you know, your parents have always been the ones to be there for you and take care of you and, you know.
So you figure they can do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know, because I know your mom, she's an independent woman.
Yes, she is.
You get that. Well, I mean, look at, you know, we dove into your family history, and honestly, you come from a long line of just strong women.
Yeah.
And you figure, well, they're independent. They're going to handle it. They can handle it.
Right. And then you suddenly are forced to realize that they can't handle everything that they used to be able to handle. Right.
Like some medical emergency comes up, and you're like, whoa. Right. Or maybe it might not even be a medical emergency per se. It could be like maybe something happens to the home that they're living in. Maybe they live in their own home. And something happens, you know, all of a sudden the place is flooded, or and you go in and you're like, why wasn't this taken care of like 5 years ago?
Right.
And it usually takes something like that to wake us up and go, holy cow, maybe they might need a little taken care of.
Yeah.
Maybe they need somebody to watch over them.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. And even though, like, my mom didn't live alone, she had my stepdad, and he would take care of, you know, things that around the house that needed taken care of. Yeah, he was in construction, so things like that. He was a putterer. He would always putter around, you know. And things were always taken care of. There was no plumbing issues, no electrical issues, you know, all that's taken care of. But there would be times when I would go to visit, and he was very old school. Okay, women cooked and they cleaned. Okay, he didn't do that. He didn't do that. He didn't do, because he's a man. You know, that was not what he was supposed to do. So there would be times, and my mom was starting to kind of slow down, and she was sicker than what she let on.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I kind of take after her on that.
Uh-huh.
And So I would get there and I would notice things like a lot more dishes in the sink.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why aren't these getting cleaned? It's just two people.
Right.
Or I would notice laundry not being done or not being put away. And again, it's like, where are these piles of laundry coming from when there's just two people? And so I was always there because she watched my kids when I was working graveyards and whatnot. And so I was there quite a bit. I was able to see these things.
Mm-hmm.
And then on my days off, take the time to help her out.
Right.
And take care of the stuff, because he couldn't be bothered with that. And like when I was younger, she and I we'd find like an old movie on TV.
We used to do that too.
And then we would just sit on her bed and fold laundry.
Totally do stuff like that with my mom
gosh. Those are like the best memories.
Yep.
The best.
Before we had a VCR, my mom would wake us up in the middle of the night and we'd all cuddle up on the couch with blankets and watch old movies.
How fun is that?
That's why I love old movies so much.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think, that may be why, because it was just such a great memory.
Mm-hmm.
Just sitting there watching these old movies.
Yep.
And just this mundane project,
Right.
It's like you're just folding laundry.
Right.
But it's funny because that also helps to create those organic conversations.
Yes.
And if you're paying attention and you're listening, you find out a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like a lot of stuff. And I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really important to follow up on some of those things.
Yes.
If they're complaining of like aches and pains or something,
Mm-hmm.
those are the doors you want to open and say, hey, how's your medication? Are you taking your medication? Right. Sometimes I wish I would have really done more for my mother, because she would complain about the doctors.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, oh, well, I'd kind of blow it off. It's like, well, then you just need another one. When what was happening, I really should have stepped in.
Uh-huh.
Because what was happening was she was going to these older male doctors.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing against older male doctors. I love them.
Right.
I honestly prefer a male doctor. All my doctors are males.
Uh-huh.
They're young. Because they're prettier to look at. But my stepdad would go with her into these meetings, into these appointments, and he would tell them that it's all in her head.
What?
And they would go along with what he said.
What?
She'd say, I don't feel good, and she couldn't explain it. It's hard to explain.
Sometimes you just don't feel good and you don't know why.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I wasn't feeling good, and I couldn't tell you why. And I finally found that doctor who did all those tests.
Mm-hmm.
She was female.
Yep.
But she did all that blood work and said, here's why you don't feel good.
Right.
And it was like, holy cow.
Yep.
Really? You're telling me that I'm not imagining this?
Right. Exactly.
And so if I had stepped in, I really do feel bad that I didn't tell him, you know what, you're not going in there with her.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to shut your pie hole.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to find her somebody who finds out the root of this problem.
Exactly.
But it just didn't happen. We're going to sweat here for a minute. That AC's too loud.
Uh-huh.
So it's important, I think, that when you speak to an older parent, because honestly, I don't look at your mom as being old.
I have a hard time looking at her as being old.
And yet, she's in her 70s, right?
Yep. She'll be 72 in November.
And, I mean, we have to really think, you know what, you're on that downward slope and you're picking up speed.
Yeah, my dad too. My dad has to have surgery coming up in a month.
Oh my gosh.
So it's kind of like, my parents are just aging.
Yeah.
My dad is not. My dad and both my mom and my dad have always been very active people. They cannot sit down. They cannot sit still.
Right.
They're always got to be doing stuff. That's why my dad has always got a project.
Right.
And his projects are usually working on houses. He's got to have something to do in the house.
He's very hands-on.
And working in the yard and working outside and doing all this stuff.
Right.
My mom, she had to get a job after she retired. I can't sit at home. I need a job. You know, and so watching them not be able to do the things that they have always been able to do, or struggle to do the things that they've always been able to do, is really hard to watch your parents do that.
Yes.
And struggle.
It is. That's one of the hardest things to do, is to watch your parents get old.
Yeah. It really is hard.
It's heartbreaking.
And then it makes it scary for you too, because you're like, oh my gosh, this is what I have to look forward to?
And I would get frustrated.
Yes.
I remember I would get frustrated with my mom. It's like, why can't you do this? You've always done this.
Right.
Why can't you do it? And of course, now that I'm getting older, it's like, well, I'll tell you why she couldn't do it.
You know, and that is so true. It's like, for instance, it's harder to get down on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
If you get down on the floor to do something, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't think I can get back
Right,
up.
I can get down. That's no problem. Yeah, it's the getting up.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking,
my knees are like, ah.
I am an active person.
Yes,
I have
you
always
are.
been an active person.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been a busy person. Like to do things and exercise and whatever. And now I can't even get up off the friggin' floor.
Right.
What?
Right. Yeah. Without some prop or help.
Yeah,
or
exactly. It's like, when did this happen?
I know. It sneaks up on you, let me tell you.
I don't know. I don't get it.
It'll sneak up on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think that it is so important that we do take that time to spend with our aging parents.
Absolutely.
And I know that it gets hard because, again, we're taking care of our families, we're working full time, we're nurturing other relationships, and we do kind of, they're fine.
Yeah.
They're fine.
They are.
I'll see them in 6 months.
Right. Mom, how you doing? I'm fine. Okay.
Especially if they live far away.
Yeah.
Especially if they live far away. I never lived very far from my mother. I only lived far from her for a year when I was in California and she was in Arizona. Other than that, we always lived within, 30 minutes of each other. Always. And when they get farther away, it's harder to take that time.
Yeah.
Because especially if they're in another state.
Right. Yeah, I can't even imagine.
That's really tough. That is really tough. But that's why it's important. Being an only child, I don't know if I had had another full sibling, if I would have moved away, as long as she had somebody there, I don't know if I would have done that. And I don't know if being an only child, I felt like I had to stay close. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Because I don't know the alternative.
Right.
So, I don't know. But, like, I have a friend who, bless her heart, every week spends time with her parents. They're elderly. But she's the only one nearby. All of her siblings are back east because they were originally from back east. And now they're here in Arizona, and so every week she goes to see them. So she's able to really tell any changes, any little nuances. It's like, maybe he's not eating as much this week. He wasn't talking as much, but she's able to see these things as they come up. Right. Which I think is important.
Yeah.
And, we were talking about your mom, and honestly, I am really, really happy that some things are being put in place to help her later.
Yes.
And I think that is so important to do before these things happen, to kind of discuss. I always told my mother, you're moving in with me. If anything happens, you're moving in with me. But what did she say? I don't want to be a burden.
Yeah.
I don't want to be, I couldn't live, and honestly, she says, I couldn't live with you. And that's true. Because, one of us wouldn't be here. Because we really did butt heads pretty bad. And again, you get these independent women. And women have such a contentious relationship with their mothers. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know. I guess because women are just, I don't know. We're just catty and we just, I don't know.
So weird.
But it was just, I don't know if it could have happened. But I always told her, you will move in with me. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Right.
We'll figure this out.
Right.
We'll figure it out. And unfortunately, yeah, it never got the chance to even get to that point because she was only 60 when she passed away.
Wow.
Yeah. So, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know if I would have stepped in, if her health would have been different. I don't know. I can't play that game.
No, you can't.
But I think it's important that even if nothing is really set in stone, that there is some kind of an idea of what to do. It's like, okay, what happens when?
Right.
What happens if you slip, fall, break a hip, whatever, and you cannot live here anymore by yourself?
Right. Right.
What do we do? Play that what if game.
Yep.
And I think that that's important to do. It's difficult because so many, again, independent women, I don't want to talk about it.
Right.
I don't want to talk about it. And even men, when they get older.
Oh, yeah.
You get to be that crotchety old man. You're like, no. I'm going to be fine. I'll be fine.
Let me tell you, I'm doomed. My sister and I are like, well, and even in my stepmom, so my other siblings as well. We're all doomed because we're all super stubborn and we have very stubborn parents.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh. I just see my parents and myself and I'm like, oh boy.
Well, that's why I totally see you. I see your mom in you. Yeah. You're both pretty steadfast.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're just both strong-willed, and I don't like calling you stubborn, but you're pretty strong in your convictions.
Just like when my mom tried to leave the hospital at 2 a.m. Nope, I'm going home.
Yep, all better.
I'm dressed, I have my purse and my keys, and I'm ready to go.
That's so funny. Oh my God. Seriously, I could see you doing something like that.
Yeah, and I was like, I probably would have done something like that, and it took me
I'm looking at older Kelly.
Yeah.
Like right now, I don't know if you would really, but older Kelly, I can totally see doing that. Totally.
Nope, I'm going home.
Yep.
I'm done.
I am done here.
You people suck.
Right. Yep. I asked for the cute doctor. You said no.
And my sister, she's like, we decided that when we're older, when we start to get older, we're going to put ourselves in a assisted living facility. She goes, that way we can go on our dates 3 times a day when we go downstairs to eat our meals.
Well, I'll tell you, my grandfather did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he and the vampire. They lived in Sun City and had a beautiful home right on the golf course. And they were getting older. And some of these places are tough to get into. But they found one that they really liked, and for the life of me, I can never, ever remember the name of it. But they found this place, and it was, 4 stories, had like 3 restaurants. It had a theater, an indoor swimming pool, like a ballroom where they had dances.
Ooh.
Yeah, sometimes with live bands. It was, gorgeous. Their apartment was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. I think it was 1,200 square feet.
Wow.
Oh, the thing was huge.
Wow.
It was...
See, that's where I want to live.
And it was gorgeous. They had a nice kitchen, but they could go down to the restaurants, but they had their own kitchen. But they got on a waiting list, and then they were only on the waiting list for maybe 2 years, if that, and they got in, and that was where they lived, and thank goodness they got in when they did, because it was like a year later my grandfather passed away. So the vampire was settled. She had friends.
Yeah.
It all worked out well. But we still visited quite often.
Yeah.
A couple of times a month. Even though they were with all these people, people checked on them all the time.
Yep.
And they were very active. We still would meet them, go out to dinner, whatever.
Yeah.
I hated going over there because the carpeting was white and I had 2 kids.
Yikes.
Yeah. Oh, but good kids, thank goodness. But it still made me nervous.
Yeah.
But to plan ahead like that and say, hey, we're going to do it ourselves, and again, go on their little dates down to down to eat.
Exactly.
That's important.
Totally.
That is important to have those in, just kind of in place. It's not like they're shopping for it now, but
right.
This is what we would like to do.
Right.
Because well, luckily they'll have several kids. Maybe they can just kind of go from house to house.
Right. Spend a few months here.
It's your month for the folks. No. That's what they did in that movie, Parenthood.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the grandma's like, oh, why don't you go visit with, go over here this month. And I thought that you guys could take grandma for a while. But it is important that you do have that, at least to be checking in.
Yes. Exactly.
Because again, they will tell you everything's fine. Everything's fine. If you call them. If you just call, hey, how are you? Oh, everything's great.
Yep.
And like my great grandmother, she would do that, and she had no food.
Oh.
It's like, what have you been eating? Well, I had a muffin that somebody gave her a muffin.
Oh my
It's like,
gosh.
are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And then of course we had to put her in a home, and then it just really went downhill from there, because you never know where you're putting them.
Right.
You never know.
That's very true.
And my grandmother refused to have her in our house, and it was a 2-story house. She couldn't have done anything anyway. My grandmother was not going to rearrange her downstairs. Because again, it's that mother-daughter contentious relationship.
Yeah.
It was so sad. My great-grandmother used to say, she hates me. It's like, oh, no, she doesn't. As my nose is growing. But it is important to keep checking in and seeing them.
Yes. Putting eyes on them.
Actually visually seeing them. Because they will sometimes put out little clues, and if you're not really paying attention, again, we're so caught up in our lives.
Yep.
And we need to take care of them. They took care of us.
Exactly.
They taught us how to wipe our butts. that was, now it's our turn to wipe theirs, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, that just scares me to death with my kids.
Right. Like, oh dear.
Oh my gosh.
I don't want to have to deal with that.
No,
I don't want my kids to have to deal with that.
No, egads. I have one son who, bless his heart, I know he would. But, my other son.
Your other son would be calling a nurse.
Yep, he'd be like, I am not messing with you. Sorry. Good luck to you. Here's a wet wipe. Good luck. I do think it's important. It was very scary for me when I heard that your mom was in the hospital. So I can only imagine what it did to you. Because again, we expect them to take care of themselves.
Right.
But when we get older, we are tired. And so we take shortcuts.
Yep.
And every little thing, we don't want to go to the doctor for every little thing.
Exactly.
And you start to feel like a hypochondriac.
Yep.
And it's like, that's not what I am, but I don't know what this is. And so I'm a little bit scared. But you don't want to keep going to the doctor.
Right.
So you're just going to, it's nothing. Oh, it's a little red spot on my leg. Oh, it's no big deal.
Right.
I'm fine. And then, you see that the little red spot on the leg is having a life of its own.
Yep. Exactly.
And it is scary.
It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's going to bring us to what's hot. And family is hot.
Yes.
Family is hot. And your parents are hot.
Yes.
And taking that time to get your ass over to your folks' house
yes.
and see them, even if they are in another state.
Yeah, you gotta go.
You've
go visit,
got to go
especially
look.
when they're older.
Yeah, look at the surroundings. I don't know about you. My great grandmother, she was one of those people that everything was in a Cool Whip.
Yes. It's either a butter container
Yeah.
or a Cool Whip container. Yeah,
Right.
that was my grandma.
And sometimes God knows how long it had been in there.
Right. I can't even.
So it is
it's like
important.
you pull them all out, you set them
Oh.
on the counter, have to go through every single one of them just to find the butter.
Right, because they didn't label them.
No.
No. And so it is so important that you get to your parents' home, wherever they are staying. Go through their refrigerator. Because sometimes this stuff is growing other stuff.
It is.
Make sure that they are eating well, and make sure that they are taking medications. Make sure that toilets work correctly,
Yes.
and that drains drain, and there aren't any leaks on any faucets. Make sure that windows aren't letting cold air in or hot air in.
Yeah.
Make sure that air conditioners are working, especially here in Arizona.
Oh, yes.
Make sure that you are able to do something to help
Yes.
your aging parents. Because hopefully they've been there for you.
Yes. Exactly.
Hopefully they have taught you well, so that you are able to help to take care of them. Maybe you do need to spend some money to help them out.
Yep.
We were talking earlier about, like, if they need plumbing done, and maybe they're not going to call on a leak because they think it might be expensive, or they don't want a plumber, someone they don't know, in their home when they're alone.
Right.
So take that initiative. Call them a plumber and tell them, I will be here when the plumber is here. I will make sure that I have the time to be here from between 10 and 4
Yep.
so that I can be here in the home with you and we can get this taken care of. So important, because you don't have them forever.
No, sadly.
And they can go so quickly. Help them to live with dignity.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's so important.
Absolutely.
Don't make them seem like they're a burden, even though it is difficult.
Yeah.
Even though it's hard to get to go see them, to make that time. Don't ever make them feel as if.
Right.
Let them feel like they are the most important thing. Talking about my son, bless his little heart, and he's moved out and he's got his job and he's doing his own thing, but on his days off he comes to see his mama. And granted, that boy does not stay but for a minute. And he stays like anywhere between 20-30 minutes. But honestly, that just means the world to me. He doesn't make it seem like a burden because he knows his mama needs to see him. I know that there are a dozen other places he would rather be, but he still just makes his mama happy. Here I am. Here's what's going on in my life. And he, checks in. Everything good with you? You've been feeling okay? You getting along good? We got plenty of food, which is so funny because he didn't have any money. It's like, I should be asking you. You got food? What exactly are you eating? But it's important. So take care of your aging parents.
Yes, please.
Give them the love and attention that they deserve.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't really have to. Again, it doesn't have to be that much.
Right.
Honestly.
Right. Just
Do a Skype call if you can't get there.
Right.
But pay attention to the background. Are you seeing trash? Are you seeing stacks of dishes?
Right.
Help to fix that. Even if you just have to hire somebody in that area. Send another family friend or someone that you may know in that area.
Exactly.
To help out. And don't let it go too long between.
No.
And give them
miss a lot in that time.
Oh yeah. And give them just lots of hugs and kisses.
Yep.
While you can.
Yes, definitely.
Well, I think that's going to do it for us.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
so glad to see you.
You too.
I missed you last week.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
I get used to you.
It's weird when we don't meet up,
I know.
you know?
I know. I know. It's like, really? Really? I'm going to show up at your work. Oh, they wouldn't let me in. I think there's, a picture of me at security or something. I don't know. But anyway, if you're watching this, guess what? This one's on YouTube. So if you're watching, give it a big thumbs up. Please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you know whenever we load up a new video, and share this with your friends, because you never know who needs to hear it. You can also follow Heartprints AZ on Instagram so you can see all the cool and fun places that we go to.
Yep.
And you can follow me, Scarlett, on Instagram at Heartprints AZ.
And me, Kelly, Healthy Heart and Happy Soul on Instagram.
All right, well, we love you. Go
Bye.
hug your mama.
Bye.
Bye.